Okay, welcome everybody. What I'd like to do is just by show of hands start just to see who is in this morning's EarthRanger integration talk. Okay, just so that I don't try and avoid too much overlap. So what I want to focus on today is it's particularly focused on the real-time aspect and looking at how to manage and keep field staff safe in the field, and how EarthRanger is one of the ways that we can assist with that. So there are various challenges faced by field staff, and in particular I want to focus on field staff rather than rangers. Field staff could be rangers, could be ecologists, could be logistics folks, whoever's out in the field. And all of those people need to be kept safe in some way. So let's first look at some of the challenges. So how do you quickly and efficiently document field observations? And with that, attaching photographs, excuse me. And as I said here, while ensuring that those observations are not lost and that they're sent through to a central place automatically, and hopefully in real time. Not always possible, but if there is connectivity of some sort in the field, it can happen. The second point is, how do you navigate in the field? So how do you get from A to B or to another person? Thirdly, how do they get tracked from a central place, whether it's an operations room or otherwise? And how do you manage those patrols? Now, there's a huge overlap here with SMART, and certainly, like I said again this morning, I don't want to look at moving any system out of the way, but if you are using EarthRanger, these are some of the capabilities. This is a slide that was common this morning, so just to reiterate that we do have a web application which is typically used in either an operations room or in a manager's office. So it's sitting on a Chrome browser, has access to the internet, and that's about all you need. And then in the field, you would have a mobile device, a smart device, either Android or iOS. And you may or may not have connectivity in the field. If there is connectivity and you've set it up in that way, you can have real-time synchronization through to the web application. And if you don't have connectivity in the field, that would buffer on the phone. So it would be all of your events, all of your tracks, until such time as you do have connectivity. And that could either be via GSM, which would be cell phones, or via Wi-Fi if the guys get to a place where they do have Wi-Fi. So the first point, and I've got to try and get my smart terminology right here. Field observations is something that we call events, what we used to, until about a month ago, call reports, which in SMART, I think, are independent incidents. Is that correct? Thanks, Jonathan. So yeah, old days, paper. So these days, you would use your mobile app of some sort. So we call it EarthRanger Mobile. And this is just a pure reflection of what is on your web application. So once you've set up your data model and all of the other subjects and map features, etc., once you've set that up on the web application, once you log in rather on your mobile app, the first thing it'll do is synchronize with the web application to download that data model onto the phone, plus any sort of map features. So some of what I'm talking about is about to be released. Some of it is already there. So offline maps is about to be released. Not there yet, but it will be. Including map features and other event types that have popped up, as well as other subjects. So to capture an event is pretty straightforward. You'd open the app, go to the event type that you want to capture in. What's automatically captured into the phone is the time, the user, and the location. And that is common across all event types. And then each event type would have its own fields relative to those field observations or events. And that is a reflection, as I said, of the data model in the web application. So there are a couple of different event types that can be recorded. Most of them are point events. So that would be one coordinate where you would take whatever you're capturing into the system. And the other type, and Rich mentioned it yesterday, I think, about the future of SMART, which would be polygon event types. So we've got that in EarthRanger on the mobile app. So what you would typically do is you would, if you are measuring whether it's a crop that has been damaged by animal intervention, you could walk around that and it'll capture the perimeter and the area, and that would be plus the coordinates, obviously, and that would then be uploaded into EarthRanger. It could be a fire, it could be an invasive species area, it could be you've got a new water hole and you want to measure it probably won't be that accurate, but the water line. You could do all those sorts of polygon measurements in EarthRanger, and literally all you do is you walk it. When you get to a corner, you say, place a point here, and you go to the next one, and then it'll close off that polygon. And then what we're working on is bringing those polygons in later as map features. So you could possibly have historic burn areas. Conceivably, you could also fly these polygons with a drone and capture those points as well. But then you could bring those in later as a map feature so that you could say, well, where we've burnt before, how big is that invasive species area, has it reduced, has it increased, things like that. In some cases, and this is all driven by permission sets on the web app, which then translate into the mobile app, you may be able to edit those some of those fields on the mobile app. In a lot of cases, what we're finding now is that the people that are capturing data in the field have really only got write access, so no edit or view access, so they can't see what other people are doing. But obviously, the permission sets are there so that you can see what other events have been captured and also edit them if you've got those sorts of permissions. Moving on to navigation. Instead of having to carry too many devices in the field, what we try and do now is do everything on EarthRanger. And so these are some new features that are coming out probably in the next 2 months. So first of all, the offline map would be downloadable onto the phone. Any sort of map features, so that could be an observation post or a fence or a road or a water point. Whatever you capture as a map feature on the web application will be replicated on the phone. Similarly, other events that have been captured by other people that are in the field, those will show up on the mobile app, as well as where other subjects are. So a subject is anything that is trackable. So it could be a person, so it could be another ranger in the field, could be another ranger team, it could be an animal, could be a vehicle. So anything that you can track in real time and feeds through into EarthRanger. So what you can then do from the mobile app is that you can navigate to any one of those points. So the first would be an event. And so the scenario here up in the top of the screen there's a poacher contact. So somebody has captured that. They've either captured it on their mobile phone and said we've got a contact with a poacher, or what they could do is they could, if you're on a digital radio, two-way radio, you could radio that back to your ops room to say we've got a contact. Depending on the digital radio, that last known location will ping as the last known position of that device, and the person in the ops room could capture that as the poacher event. Either way, it'll pop up as an event on the web app, which would then be replicated in the field. Again, caveat, if you have connectivity in the field. If you don't have connectivity in the field, the last known, once you did have connectivity, it would download the event types as it when you last had connectivity, last known point. But you can then navigate to that point. So it'll give you a bearing and distance so that you can then move off to that position. The second type is a map feature, so same sort of process. You would click on that map feature and say, take me home, take me to that observation post, take me to that lodge, and it'll give you a bearing and distance to that point. And the really nice one is the self-to-subject navigation. So especially if you have, so a subject is something that's trackable. So if there's connectivity in the field again, as you and that other subject move around, the bearing and distance will dynamically change as you move. So your initial bearing and distance will change as you start moving and as the other subject moves as well. So what's also really nice about this as well is that you can then have proximity alerts to any of those other points. So you don't want to have blue on blue incidents. You don't want to have stumble upon black rhino that's in the field if it's being tracked. And you can set it up so that you get an alert to say you're within certain distance of that other subject. So this makes navigation in the field a lot easier, and especially when you're on an operation where you're trying to direct ranges, or even if you're trying to do a transact, you could then direct your field staff accordingly, again, if they have connectivity. Then, from a central point of view, if you do want to track where people are in the field, this should look familiar to the guys with grey hair like myself, where you have pin markers of the last known positions. These days, what's happening is that it's happening on the map automatically. So you can see where your rangers are, you can see where your ecologists are, or you can just see where your logistics teams are in real time. So the way you get that data into EarthRanger would be through a number of different tracking devices. So I've listed EarthRanger Mobile there. Again, you need some sort of connectivity to send that through. Please roll on Starlink so that we can connect through to them. Again, if you have connectivity in the field. The digital radios are the way that we've traditionally tracked subjects in the field. So Hytera, Motorola, and we're looking at a couple of others will come into EarthRanger so that you can see exactly where they are at any one time or in real time. LoRa devices are being used a lot in the field. It's basically, if you're not aware of what it is, it's a low energy, long range wireless network that you set up in a protected area or any sort of area. And depending on the topography and the vegetation, the range varies a lot. But if you have a flat area, so example at sea level, if you're looking out to sea and you have a 30-meter tower, I think it was about 20 kilometers radius. But then, so that's just to give an indication, but again, depending on topography and where the different repeater stations are, that would reduce. But that's a really low-cost type of approach of being able to track subjects out in the field. You own the network. There's no maintenance, or what do you call it, servicing costs. And the equivalent, which is a serviced arrangement, would be Sigfox, which I haven't listed here, but Sigfox is also in here. But typically, the Sigfox folks would go and build the infrastructure, and you'd pay them on a per usage basis. Satellite trackers. So again, just to remember that for any sort of tracking device, there used to be triangulation methodologies, but these days most tracking devices have got a GPS chip in them to find its location. And then you'd need some sort of communications chip to send that message back to a central point. And by satellite trackers, what I'm referring to here is sending communicating from the device to a central place via satellite. So the Garmin inReaches are an example of that. Spot devices, and you get a couple of other types of devices that go either over the Iridium network or the Global Star network, and I think there are a couple of other networks as well. So those come through. Most of the time it's one way. And I've mentioned those, the in-reaches and spots already. So what happens now is that the operations center, or if you're an ecologist just sitting in your office, you can see where your assets are in the field in real time. And that means you can then direct them, or you can keep them safe. And I'll get into a couple of examples of those a short while ago. So here's the example by management. And so you've got ecologists in the field. You're tracking pangolins at night. You might be in an area where there are black rhinos. You're worried that your staff will be surprised by a rhino, or they just simply get lost at night. You can then direct them accordingly. This is a page I stole off Kelsey's site. Thanks, Kelsey. And so, yeah, same principles apply, where you can keep everybody safe in the field. And then how do you communicate with those people in the field? Again, these two-way radios are an example. And with the growth of a number of tracking devices out there, people you would say, well, do we need to switch out our analog radio system for a digital radio system? And we used to say, well, if you want to be tracked, yes, that's probably the way to go. But what we're saying now is, well, rather save that money on switching to a digital radio system, keep your analog radio for voice communications, and then use that money for tracking devices, which are a lot cheaper, like a LoRa device, or even inReaches could probably be cheaper than replacing with the digital radio system. So there are, okay, so here are some of those points. Two-way comms using voice could be either analog or digital radios. With EarthRanger Mobile, if there's GSM, they can simply phone in. But we are going to build in a two-way texting from EarthRanger Mobile into the web app. LoRaWAN devices, the Smart Parks guys, if you're familiar with them in the Netherlands, they're building ways to actually send predefined short messages via LoRa, which is really exciting because you can use that sort of infrastructure. So you could have a series of a couple of standard messages. You say send message 1, which is sitrep, all okay. Message 2 is got to our destination, close down the patrol. Message 3 is we're in trouble, send help, whatever it might be. And so you'd have 4 or 5 standard messages that could be sent over the LoRaWAN. And then with the Garmin inReaches, which have got two-way texting capabilities, we've built in direct two-way texting from EarthRanger to the inReach devices if you have an enterprise license with Garmin. And we will probably write that into the SpotX platform as well at some stage soon. So these are the different ways that you can communicate. So we don't want to prescribe any high-tech system. If two-way analog radios are working well for voice comms, keep them. Use that money for other devices. And then patrol management. So what you can do with EarthRanger Mobile is that if you want to start a patrol, you can start the patrol. So it'll send it through to the operations room, and you can set up different patrol types. What we haven't got in yet, but we're building in, is the different patrol members so that you can measure them independently. At the moment, it's using the team leader's phone as a proxy. So again, if there's connectivity, you can see them in real time, and that will synchronize back to the web. But then, of course, we have the offline mode as well. So what that means is that people can be semi-autonomous. If they're out in the field, they don't need those comms, or if they need to be in silent mode, they can just start and stop a patrol. You can assign different new objectives on the patrol so that they can self-manage that. And then using the visualization in EarthRanger, you can then see where the guys have been, apply some heat maps to see what their sort of area of influence might have been over time. It'll send back distances covered, time taken, and attach any events that patrol has taken on the patrol as well. So you can measure them from that point of view as well. So what are the benefits of this combined web app and mobile app? You can quickly and efficiently capture field observations or events which could be synchronized in real time. You can have this really simple and easy navigation tool going to points of interest, other ranges, other events, other subjects. You can have an eye on all of your staff out in the field at any time, in real time. And then, yeah, the video on this slide isn't working, but safety is an important one, and this is a real case that we got from one of our sites. I think it's Kafui, where there was a vehicle tracker, that vehicle up on the screen. Not sure how do you... Okay, that's not working. So there's a vehicle tracker on a vehicle. So they were in contact with them via two-way radio, analog, but they knew where they were from the tracking device. There was a team out in the field. Oh, look at that. Are you guys doing that? Thanks. So the ranger team got into trouble. Okay, so that's pretty quick. So what's happened here is that they told the vehicle to travel for exactly 10 kilometers or whatever it was to a particular point, stop and wait. They told the ranger team that had an injured member to head in a direction, I think it was about 190 degrees until they hit the road, and they should meet the vehicle there. And this is all through a combination of analog radios, just simple tracking devices, knowing where the guys are, setting up bearing and distance. With the measuring tool, they could measure how far it was down the road. With the measuring tool, they found the shortest distance to the road with the bearing and distance, and they got the injured guy out of there on the vehicle, and he had a full recovery. So those are the sort of scenarios that are difficult to do with not knowing any sort of real-time information out in the field. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. We have covered this in some of the other stuff. We are supported by, or we're part of the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence, which falls into the Paul G. Allen Family Foundation, which is supporting us. There's a big chunk of money that's supporting this program, and ad infinitum, it'll be covered. So we've got a big team based in the US and in Mexico, around about 40 developers, and we've got support starting in Africa. We've got teams in Latin America and Central America, or North America, and we're looking at expanding into Asia as well. I've also got somebody who is based in the UK who looks after our Francophone countries. She happens to be in Côte d'Ivoire at the moment. So yeah, there's lots of support, and we're there to help you. So thanks for your time. Open for questions now. That's the camera. Maybe just, yeah, if you can shout, yeah.
So if I understand it right, all the data that goes to the cloud service based in the US, is there, I know there's like with the US laws that no personal information can be stored on a US server. How is that going to be solved? There's a lot of countries that have these data regulations that personal information can't be stored outside their country.
Yeah. So data sovereignty, so we use the Google Cloud. Not all of the data is in the US. Our main African server is in Frankfurt. So from a European point of view, that satisfies those requirements. There are a couple of other countries where they do have more stringent requirements. Tanzania is one of them. Saudi Arabia is one of them. Well, the Saudi one, Google's about to put a server in Dammam, which will satisfy those requirements mostly. And it depends. Sometimes the guys realize that it's not so much a data sovereignty issue, but a data security issue. So what we've done in places like Kenya, for instance, is that Kenya Wildlife Service is concerned that their data might get taken. So we have a daily backup of data from the cloud onto a local server at KWS offices. So that keeps the data secure. And then we do have quite strict security measures in the software. And we periodically have penetration tests. In fact, we're kicking another one off right now. The previous one was about 18 months ago. They couldn't get in, but they gave us 4 or 5 areas where we needed to work. We fixed those areas of weakness, and we've never had a penetration. So we're happy that from a security point of view, we're fine. And from a data sovereignty point of view, most of the time when the guys say we need our own server, well, first of all, the architecture of EarthRanger is designed for cloud usage. And when they see what is required from a infrastructure point of view and from a skills point of view and a cost point of view, they say, well, okay, we'll bend the rules a little bit. And yeah, in Europe, we have a number of sites, and it hasn't been an issue.
Just about that bending of rules, I mean, I wouldn't think any government agencies would be able to do that.
Well, yeah, we get told that they've got data sovereignty requirements through an email sent over Gmail. So, yeah. Question over there.
Thank you for the presentation. My question is just to ask that how did you manage to get EarthRanger closer to reality? Because in certain places where there's no network, how would that be possible?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
My question is, how did you manage to get EarthRanger close to reality when the rangers are in the field? If I heard you correctly.
Yeah, we're in about 500 sites around the world, so it is reality. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how to answer the question. We do have a number of rangers that use it in the field, either through the mobile app, and we would capacitate them through training. Typically what we would do is, especially for rangers in the field, we would go through a train-the-trainer approach where we would train a senior ranger who could then train his staff, because there's normally cultural resistance where if we go in and tell people how to do their jobs. And so, yeah, we've got a lot of buy-in through the train-the-trainer approach. Sometimes they don't have the mobile app in the field, and they would still go through their standard operating procedures of radioing in observations, or worst case, they might write it down and then transcribe it when they get back. We're trying to eliminate those duplications of effort, but sometimes it just happens. Did I answer your question correctly? Okay.
Hello. Thank you for the presentation. I don't know much about EarthRanger, but I have a small technical question. We rely heavily on the use of DeLorme InReach devices in the DRC. And my question is whether it's possible to integrate a number of devices via EarthRanger to track the position of patrols.
Okay, so totally separate from the InReach question. Is that, okay, so well, yeah, we can bring in a number of InReaches, any number of InReaches into EarthRanger at any one time. From a drone point of view, we have plans to be able to track the drones, and again, it depends on how the position is sent back to a central point over what communications network. So typically it might be the drone management system where you are piloting the drone from your device, and that goes over a management system. If that is online, then in real time you can get the positions back. If not, you can always get that track file and import it into EarthRanger at a later stage. So that's the one thing we're working on at the moment. The second thing is whether you're taking photographs or video. So at the moment, video is just too much to be carried over those sorts of networks in real time. So at this stage, we don't have plans to have a video feed coming into EarthRanger in real time of what the drone is seeing. But we can certainly bring in stills photographs and attach them to events. So an event could be, we would treat it the same way as either a patrol event type or a camera trap type of event, where you would get an event type saying, I've taken a photograph and here's the attachment of the photograph, and that was taken at this position. And then at a later stage, you could attach other attributes to it, like a carcass sighting. So we do have plans to bring in drone tracks and stills, but not the videos. Back there.
Yes, I would just like to, ego something or give a pink to my learned friend there who asked about how do you bring EarthRanger to reality. Now these things seems to be globally smart and very innovative tools. And in order to really mainstream it into your national operations or national park operations, it's good to go to a conference, it's good to attend some of these very nice events where we get the opportunity to fly out of the country, get per diem and, live in nice hotels. But bringing that back to the country needs a champion to make it a reality, and the champion needs a dedicated staff with some intuition within that agency in order to make these things reality. But attendance of conferences for the sake of attending conferences without championing the cause will never bring these innovative technologies, tools, approaches, programs to reality in the individual countries.
Okay, thanks. I think that was more of a statement than a question, but okay. Any other questions?
Yes. So, I'm Isai from Conservation International Cambodia. So, my question is not high, just simple. So, because I know that SMART and EarthRanger is planned to integration together, but the application is also have planned integration also for field data collection, or it have a different role for data. It means different role in the field for data collection. Because currently we have SMART Mobile, and also EarthRanger also have the application or called the EarthRanger data collection, anything on that. But the future is planned to integrate both applications together for field data collection or not? Thank you.
Okay, so the main statement I want to make about that sort of integration is that EarthRanger doesn't want to replicate or push any other software out. We would rather work with them in a complementary manner. So a lot of the main theme, and we've been talking to WCS about this as well, is that whatever SMART is being used for now, continue. If there's functionality in EarthRanger that SMART can't provide, like the real-time aspect, then bring that in. And it's mostly in tracking subjects. So if you're using Smart Mobile, continue to use Smart Mobile and forget about EarthRanger Mobile. So continue with the Smart Mobile for capturing your independent incidents and your patrol waypoints. And then only use EarthRanger for tracking real-time assets in the field. So it's a management decision, but we would support a general statement to say we're not going to replace any smart functionality with EarthRanger, only complement it.
I think if both of them integrate together may be useful for field work. Thank you.
Question over there.
So my question is just, I'm not completely sure. Okay, I'm not completely sure how the monitoring could work from EarthRanger's side, but import to profiles on SMART. Is that something that can be done?
Profiles, yeah, we at this stage we can't manage profiles. If you do want to speak about profiles, speak to Debbie Thompson from CDAS. She's here somewhere. She's an expert on profiles, and rather keep it within SMART, to be honest. No other questions? Okay, great. Thanks very much, everybody.